Nene had big dreams and aspirations. She longed to become a learned and great woman, much respected in the community. She lived in Osemele village with her parents and siblings. She was always dedicated to the small school training that had just been brought to her village. It was in the medieval era and there was nothing like school at that time. And so the small one that was brought was much sorted after by the young ones at that time. But Nene had challenges, and that was that her parents were too poor and may not be able to help or sponsor her education as she wanted. That was the major problem she had. There also in the village of Osemele, there lived an elderly pot-bellied wealthy man known as Osuya. He was rich and often wanted to have a relationship with Nene, but Nene was too young for him. He started to think, scheme, and plan on what to do to have a way, to have his way as husband to Nene, but the difference was clear. One day, his creepy mind started to hatch his plan. He started visiting Nene's home, pretending he was passing by and wanted to see them. He continued to develop the relationship with the family until it became like a daily affair. While Osuya was using that opportunity to study the movement of the family, he knew when they were all away and knew the time only Nene was at home. After gaining all those informations, he proceeded to do what he wanted. On that very day, Osuya arrived at Nene's home and met everyone absent, except for Nene, knowing very well they will not be at home at that time. He greeted Nene and pretended to inquire after her parents as though he didn't know they were away. Nene told him they were out, and before Nene knew it, he had latched the door and grabbed her. He covered her mouth to mute any shout or sound and forced Nene, who had just clocked 18 years old, on her knees. In shock, completely unable to breathe, Nene saw Osuya have his way with her and she could not even shout in pain at being deflowered. He had already gagged her. Osuya had his ways with Nene as he liked because he knew no one was going to interrupt him, as he knew when the family would be returning home on that day. When he was done, he left Nene gagged and weak and dressed up. He turned to her and said, "I have made you my wife today, no matter the age difference, and you dare not tell anyone about this. Otherwise, I will impoverish your parents the more and have them beheaded." He untied Nene and she lay there shaking with fright. She knew Osuya was a very dangerous and powerful man. He was hardened and would not hesitate to do what he had just said. "I'm going to my home right now, and remember, no one dare come for you. No one dare come for your hand in marriage, and you agree. You understand?" With that, he unlocked the door and walked out. Nene got up shaking and crying. She hurriedly wiped off the blood stain and sat on the bed crying. "Oh, why me? Why, of all the girls, all the young girls, all the maidens in this village, is me that old Osuya chose to be interested in?" She cried unhappily. When her parents finally returned home, it wasn't hard for them to observe something that was wrong with her, but she could not tell them anything for fear of their being murdered, and so she kept quiet. The next week, when Nene's parents went away as usual, Osuya sneaked in again when she least expected it. She didn't know he was going to come again. He locked the door and grabbed her again before she could scream and had his way with her again. When he was done, he said, "My wife, how are you doing?" I've come for you, and there is nothing you can do about it. My being aged is not the thing, but my love for you is what matters most. Nene, the beautiful Nene, watched him in fright as he talked and left. Nene, shocked beyond words, stood up shaking. What am I going to do? Who am I going to tell? I cannot tell my parents. He will murder them. Oh my Lord, she cried. Osuya kept going to Nene's home whenever her family was away and kept on having his way. Under threat, he kept Nene to her bending knees. One day, Nene's mother started noticing some changes in her daughter's body. She had put on weight, her breasts were bigger, and she was constantly ill. Her mother told Nene's father, her husband, what she was observing, and he called Nene privately to find out what was the matter. Nene could not talk. They finally took her to a midwife in the village, and it was detected that she was pregnant. Her parents were completely taken aback and angry. They knew Nene never associated with boys or went out except to the small new school, and so told Nene that if she refused to say the person responsible, they would chase her out of their home. After all said and done, Nene had nowhere to go. She did not know what to do next and said, Father, Mother, he said if I talk, he will kill you all. Who's the man that threatened you thus? Her father asked, barking and shaking in a deadly quiet tone. Is 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 Osuya, Nene dropped, stuttering. What? Her mother exclaimed in disbelief. What did I hear you just say? Oh, Osuya, Nene replied. Her mother collapsed and fainted when she got on the ground. When she got up after her family had tried to resuscitate her, they took the matter to the king of the village. Osuya was summoned to the palace and questioned. He did not deny it. He strongly told them Nene was his, and no one in the village dared to take her from him. He told them he was rich and could take good care of her. He was overjoyed when he learned that Nene was pregnant. But do you know it is against the law of the land to rape a girl, force her against her will, right in her own parents' home? The king asked. Yes, I know, my king, Osuya replied, but I have wanted her since the day she was born. Everyone was surprised at the audacity and the way in which Osuya was talking. And after all said and done, Nene was forced to marry him because there was nothing they could do. Mother, all my dreams and aspirations, Nene cried, clinging to her mother. Mother, I beg of you, please help me. There was nothing any of them could do. Abortion was not known then, and so Nene, with all her dreams and aspirations unfulfilled, went to live with Osuya as his wife. Nene was 18 and Osuya was 78 years old. It was something no one expected to happen in the village. He was just like her grandfather. You know, I've always loved and wanted you since the day you were born, Osuya said to Nene while they were in his house. And that's why I've never married. I always knew my wife is out there somewhere. And thankfully, you are right here now in my life. Nene, with her belly protruding and not knowing what to do, sat crying. You don't need to cry, my love, the old man said, shaking his head, making the furious Nene to cry all the more. I am your soulmate. You are meant for me. Forget about my age and fall in love with me. Simple. I hate you, she cried. My dreams of being educated, my entire world all crashed before me because of you. I hate you. Forget about all school. School, I have all the money you need in life. So what do you want in your life again? Osuya said. That was how Osuya tried all he could to make the unhappy Nene feel better, but she was never happy. Who would? Nene gave birth to twins, a boy and a girl. The babies were so cute that Nene could not help but fall in love with them, despite their father's age and the evil he had done to her. They became her world. She had tried to go back to school after the marriage, but Osuya had not allowed it for fear another man would take her away from him and someone would talk her into leaving him. Nene, with her twin babies, started living life again, but with the hope that one day she will go back to school no matter what. Osuya, at the age of 79, had his first set of children. He was so happy that he bequeathed half of all his wealth to Nene, who even cared less about his money and property. At the age of 18, she got into all this. Now, at the age of 82, when the children were about 3 years old, Osuya died, a happy man with his two children and wife by his side. Nene, though sad at it all, realized that Osuya had been a lonely man who sought love, but went about it the wrong way. He had lost part of the education that she wanted to have and felt defiled, but at that point she forgave Osuya, and after everything discovered that he had left all his wealth to the twins and herself. Nene became a very wealthy lady at the early age of 22 years. She went back to school and became a great woman educationally. She nursed her children to great heights. Nene never remarried. She remained unmarried until her old age. Osuya became an icon of a god sent to elevate her from poverty to riches that she realized but had to pay the karma to get to that point. Nothing happens in this world for nothing, she thought. That's the end of the story. Thanks for watching.